All right, it's Thursday, May 25th. This is a morning SPY update, a little over almost 2.5 hours into trading. Just thought I'd point out what's unfolded so far and what may be developing. First of all, you can see here we gapped up on the day, but then right out of the gates, we started lower and we have a kind of a red bar forming. We're still above the midpoint of the prior day, but we're more in line with the continuity of the weekly chart, which is red. It's been red all week. We have a 2-down week, and the monthly chart, if I click on it, is also red. So we know the continuity is to the downside overall, and now the daily, action is to the downside below the open. So you have all the downside kind of bias in play. Kind of talked about this in the pre-market video, how we're gapping up big, but in order to really continue higher, we're going to have to get a nice green bar above the pre-market highs. We're into this fair value gap between the low of this bar and the high of this bar, this whole area. If you zoom out the 15-minute chart, it's kind of just inefficient pricing, so it looks like we're just kind of filling it in, but it has the potential to pause up here. So anyway, we were going to judge how price opens in order to determine, are we going to really get a gap up and a kicker pattern where we take, we have one day red and then immediately green and trap all these sellers and go up. But right out of the gates, you could, if you were watching it, the market went down pretty big, and then it went down again on bar number 2 and 3, and we're just pausing. So all of a sudden, you're sensing we're kind of in conflict in the sense that, you were still above the midpoint of the prior day, so I'm not really that excited to go short, but at the same way, I don't really see this as a classic red to green move, even though you're anticipating, some kind of since we're not really breaking down, some kind of a move back up. So anyway, you get the red to green here, but at this point, it's not the clearest green move to kind of get all the way back through the highs and pre-market highs. It's just the market moved down too much and was just pausing too much. But it was possible. So this was an opportunity to kind of get long. And there were a lot of stocks that actually had some good buys, like Netflix and, NVIDIA, out of the gates, Goldman Sachs, I was buying. So even within this downward move, I was looking at the individual stocks to buy, and they did well. But anyway, as price then worked up here, that's fine. I still always thought that this move down was just too big to get, a really strong move above those highs. So it's not surprising to me that we kind of got to the midpoint of that first bar, somewhere in this fair value gap on the way down in here, paused, and then had a 2-down red bar. Now, what this means is you're then kind of looking to take out those intraday lows until proven otherwise. But it also sets up a potential kind of 1 push down, 2 push down directional move above the midpoint of the prior day, which if you can get a nice green reversal, could be a good buy signal, somewhere in the afternoon to get back up towards those highs. But that usually works better if you have a kind of an uptrend in place. Let's say this is the daily chart, you're going up, and then you get it 1 push down, 2 push down above the midpoint of a prior green bar, then, that's a good signal to kind of buy down there. And it's usually not to get all the way back up to the highs, but more of a scalp trade. So the question is, if we continue down here and take out these lows, which looks like, it wants to do, and then kind of get a green reversal, is that the buy you want to make to get all the way back up to those highs? Or is it just kind of a scalp buy to maybe get a push back up into the, at some point, once you get 2 pushes down, you usually just kind of pause for the rest of the day. And so it could just be a minor scalp trade. But that's all I see. It's kind of conflict. I mean, because it's not like even I would love to go short here so much, given that, yeah, I could see taking out those lows, but I don't know if we're going to get to the midpoint of the prior day and break all the way down, given that we did have a big gap up. So this day is a little tricky in terms of the actual SPY. You kind of have to know that, all those factors involved. So if you're looking to buy it red to green, you kind of got to know it's a tricky move to get to those intraday highs and pre-market highs. If you're selling this down here in line with the continuity in play, just know it's kind of the second push down into what's a gap up. So you don't really know if you're going to get that follow through. So you got to be very nimble. You can get short here for sure. See if we take out those lows and then see what momentum builds. But if it doesn't get there, just get right out. That type of thing. Same thing with this buy. If you were just trading the SPY, buy it here and then kind of know that this is a tough climb to get up there. And then once you see it failing, get out. And just one of those things, you shouldn't get hurt today, but it's certainly not, the opportunities are a little tricky, and it's more the individual stocks that provide the opportunities today. So anyway, let's see how this bar closes. Right now it seems to be more in line with that weekly red bar that could give you a little bit of pause here on the way down on Thursday, and maybe by Friday we do get lower and reach our targets that we were talking about yesterday, when we came down in this area. So if we kind of fail in here like this, then this could be a good two down opportunity. No matter what happens by the end of the day, even if we rally a little bit, we could be looking for lower. And maybe this is a move right here that's just going to really show this whole day was a big failure right from the start and take that out. So this is a potential sell here. And then if it breaks through these lows, you kind of monitor very closely. Do you just kind of pause there and then start up? Or is this just a pause that really doesn't rally and continues much lower, gets to the midpoint of this day, and really becomes a big red failure day overall? So that's what's unfolding on the SPY. I don't know how it's going to close exactly. Price action would kind of judge. Like I said, if you do get a two down, that a down move here below the the intraday lows, and you get a big green reversal, that could be a scalp buy for a little move back up into this range. But I'm not that excited, about that. And I can't say for sure if this is going to be a failure day to the downside yet. So that's what it is. Sometimes it's just, you just got to kind of judge what price action is relative to the charts. You knew there was a fair value gap on the upside that could be a pause area. That's what happened. But you also know you're above the midpoint of the prior day and you haven't quite yet failed. So, every day is not crystal clear in terms of what's developing, but it's still, when you read the price action according to how price opens, the two move, the first move of the day and the second move of the day, it kind of keeps you, you're still safe no matter what you try to do. And then we'll just see how things unfold. So that's kind of my morning update, and I'll kind of come back at the end of the day and see what happens.